The conceptual framework of Cabinda dispute solution, a letter to the President of Angola, His Excellency Eduardo dos Santos, submitted by the Cabinda government in exile and FLEC representative to Asia, date 9 August 2013. Your Excellency President of Angola, His Excellency Eduardo dos Santos, through His Excellency Ambassador of Angola to Singapore, 3 Temasek Avenue, number 23, number 1, 2, Centennial Tower, Singapore 09039190, regarding the conceptual framework of Cabinda dispute solution. Dear Mr. President, I would like first of all to congratulate you for your new term of presidency and for your successful to make Angola much better today. Because of the discovery and exploitation of oil sources in Angola, especially in Cabinda, the Angolan exclave, which is susceptible to resistance since 50 years ago. The day of FLEC establishment, which is also contributes 70% of the total revenue of Angola, where residents of Cabinda until recently did not benefit from its natural resources, which should be from existing revenue comparing by the total population. The Cabinda resident deserving $100,000 annually. Oil revenues, which should be invested in social sectors and in diversifying the economy to support the country's long-term sustainable development, are instead reinvested by Sonangol in joint venture and subsidiary businesses, which benefit just an elite few. The report adds, stressing that the problem in the oil industry are part and parcel of broader governance problems. In Angola, people are poor because the country's institutions are dysfunctional and have not provided the needed check and balances. Corruption is just a symptom of the deeper malady of weak, failed, or missing institutions. Secondly, allow me to inform you that on 14 August 2013, Comandante Antonio Luis Lopez, the President of Cabinda government in exile and FLEC, appointed me as the government of Cabinda in exile representative to Asia. Based in Jakarta, the capital city of the Republic of Indonesia, the country which was experiencing difficulties because of East Timor, former Portuguese colony, which is now became Republic of Timor-Leste and a member of CPLP. Your Excellency, Mr. President, I'm sure that you recognize Comandante Antonio Luis Lopez, above mentioned, as he was being invited to meet the government of Angola to negotiate the next implementation of the signed agreement and or MOU between the government and one of the Cabinda independent movement leader, Mr. Antonio Bento Bembe. Unfortunately, your government tried to kill him and neglected his peace proposal. However, the above reminder is just a history, and I believe that you will agree with my opinion that the times are changed and we must withdraw. And it is politically correct if you consider to improve condition and accord over Cabinda with peace and diplomatically effort instead of war and violence, which innocent people who suffer the consequences. In this matter, I discussed seriously with Comandante Antonio Luis Lopez, and he agreed to consider peace and diplomatic effort as proposed. I am sure that Mr. President agree with the objective opinion that the independence of Cabinda is just a matter of time. Sooner or later, Cabinda will become an independent state that is free from the confine of Angola. Many people assume that the main reason of the independent movement is economic reason, but FLEC itself has started their struggle a long time before oil was discovered in Cabinda, or long time before Cabinda, called as the Quiet of Africa. Your Excellency, Mr. President, nevertheless, it must be admitted that the Cabinda oil discovery and production will prevent the government commitment to Angola. In this case, Mr. President, to implement the peace agreement that was signed in 2006, which the result of such agreement is the fear of the government of Angola will lose Cabinda, which is the nation's largest supplier of income. But there is one thing which is overlooked by the government of Angola. Cabinda dispute will always a thorn in the flesh or in the hearth fire, which at the time would explode and destroy all orders that have been painstakingly built by Mr. President and all leaders of Angola. The fledgling struggle and the independence of East Timor and the fall of President Suharto in Indonesia was a good lesson learned to be considered by Mr. President. Nowadays, of course, you believe that the West will be silent because Portuguese consider that Cabinda dispute is an internal matter of Angola. Australia, at that time, not only advocating the annexation of East Timor, but it was also has acknowledged the sovereignty of Indonesia over East Timor. But along with the word political development, Australia even became a frontline state which makes Indonesian diplomatic in difficulties. Sooner or later, you will be leaving power in Angola, and as you know that the setting socio-political and cultural in Angola is very fragile because of the history of civil war. Cabinda dispute will explode after the end of your presidency, and you will not be able to ask next leader to carry out the same policy. The worst will be happen in Angola as happened in Indonesia over East Timor. Cabinda will impoverish Angola while the multinational companies will going to take side on the situation in their favor. Cabinda oil sooner or later will become a cure for the people of Angola. Your Excellency, Mr. President, as a representative of FLEC under the leadership of Comandante Antonio Luis Lopez, I beg respectfully, so presumably, Mr. President, to renegotiate what has been promised in 2006 or later take transparent policies that the final result will be everybody happy. It has been known that on August 4, 2013, the secret meeting has been held in the village of Malembo in Cabinda under the presidency of Resistance Commander Comandante Kimbuele Mpene, who concluded that more than ever it is time for the government of Angola to open a renegotiation with FLEC for the purpose of resolving the conflict. The best lesson learned from the above purpose is the autonomous province of Alan Suomi, which form a federacy with Finland. In this case, Cabinda will be considered as the state of Cabinda, but as a federation member of Angola. The state has its own right to set up local parties, hold election for its own permanent regional council, appointing its own prime minister and cabinet members, issuing international passport with 2 COA, Cabinda and Angola, sharing the oil revenue as decided transparently by negotiation. serve a local security by owning its own police department, have international relationship under the culture and trade representative worldwide, and all aspects except defense, which will under Angola control and consideration. By implementing the above conceptual framework, the all available independent movement will be suggested to unite and agrees to set up a local political parties in Cabinda. Of course, it is not as easy as flipping hands. It takes sincerity after 50 years more of dispute, but this proposed consideration will be given more advantages for Angola and Cabinda. For the government of Angola and Cabinda independent movement activists, in which we call it as a genuine autonomy with everybody happy result. I believe that considering and implementing the above mentioned conceptual framework, you are in position of writing a most memorable history locally and internationally, and become the only African leader who could solving the problem without forcing power, which is your governmental policy. Last but not least, the Cabindes and Angolanes will proud and love you forever. Finally, in order to succeed the above concept, I humbly on behalf of the government in exile and the FLEC under the leadership of Comandante Antonio Luis Lopez, propose to Mr. President to, number one, invite all available parties for independence of Cabinda to sit down to negotiate with the government of Angola, following up the result of 2006 agreement, which was signed by the only leader, Mr. Antonio Bento Bembe. Number two, withdrawing all of the Angolan troops which was stationed in Cabinda as a proof of the sincerity of Angolan government to resolve Cabinda dispute without forcing power. Number three, considering and negotiating the above proposal in association with the Finland Genuine Autonomy Alan Suomi as a form settlement win-win solution. Sincerely yours, Dato Agung Sidayu, FLEC representative to Asia. Thank you.